Steven.
Berta will, we're waiting for one person.
Okay, thanks.
We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Someone like to approve the minutes from the last meeting on September 28th?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
First and second, thank you. So some of the topics of discussion for today, I wanted to review the results of the soft opening. I think the ribbon cutting was very successful. Had a lot of good press. We started then the next day with our soft opening, and I have the numbers up here on the screen for you. There's a couple stops that we've had great success with, and some that haven't. Our number one stops so far are the Broadway House, Highland Regency, and then Sunset and Walmart. We've been averaging about nine riders a day. Seemed kind of low to me, but when I visited with MnDOT, they were quite happy with those numbers. Kathleen, who's been at our meetings before, said that when they started in Marshall, they would go sometimes when they first started days without having a rider. So she was very impressed that we were already at 9 riders a day. So I think that's a good start. We've had a couple of stops where nobody's gotten on, and that was Oak Hills and Aldi. A couple of them with just one rider, and that was Cashwise and Oakwood Estates. So we'll keep tracking these numbers, and I think we'll do that for the entirety of the route. And that way we can, maybe adjust it as we see fit with these numbers. Just wanted to share those with you. We did have a neighbor complaint at our bus stop location at St. Michael's. I did refer that to the city. I'm not sure if anything came of that. The stops are obviously on a boulevard, so I'm not sure how much, we would need to do about that. I did want to refer that to the city, though, because I didn't feel like that was an issue that I could resolve with them. And I haven't heard any more back from the fella.
What was the major complaint?
He just didn't like the bus being out of his kitchen window. So
For 1 minute.
for 1 minute. So
Mr. Chairman and commission members, City Manager Dalton did discuss that with the residents and with the understanding that we're in the infancy stages and if we need to revise the location, and we will do so at a future time. But I think as of now, status quo, but we shared the reasoning for the location of the stop and whatnot. So and if city manager was here, he could just share more of that insight. But I guess I don't have any further update on that.
okay.
Is that a busy stop?
St. Michael's, I'm not sure. I guess we could look here.
Second week ridership. It looks
Yeah,
like.
we're about 5 people for the whole time that we've been running. So, it's not huge, but again, the buses, either driving by, or stopping if someone's there. Because if no one's there, they're obviously not stopping. So I'm not sure, how to handle that in the future. If I think we will be deferring those obviously to the city, because I feel like that's more of a city thing. At the trailer court down on, and you can maybe speak more to that, Oakwood Estates. We were hoping to drive in there and turn around, but we gotta.
Sarah our lead driver was down there to hang a sign by the mailboxes that's where the bus stop was at, and the lot manager or park manager said they did not want the route bus inside the trailer park, that it could bring people in that they didn't know who they were, if they wanted to come and start some stuff. So we have been stopping out on Bridge Street and make them walk out now to the end of the driveway. But at the same time, our Heartland buses are allowed in because we're going door to door and they know who we're getting. So that kind of was a surprise for us.
Yeah, and then Walmart obviously wouldn't let us hang a sign. So, but people know that we're there obviously. So it's against their corporate policy to hang anything outside their signs. So that was kind of disappointing. But
How long are the trips taking? How's the hour
she's
thing?
doing it in about an hour, isn't she? With about couple minutes when she gets to her office to spare to use the restroom and to and stuff. So it's been going. I mean, the hour's she's been hoofing it though. But what helps again is you drive by and nobody's there. If you're behind, you just keep going. But if you're ahead of schedule, obviously you have to stop and wait. So and that's what she's been doing. And it seems like when she comes into the office during her time at our office, she's always there about the same time. So couple minutes, yeah.
Very consistent.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think for the beginning to have it working that way is. Yeah, it's good.
And maybe you can speak to it. She said she's had one electric cart.
Out of St. Michael's.
And then did she have a couple walkers too, where she deployed the lift? So,
And we've had people up on the hilltop by sunset that walked a few blocks from their home to the bus stop. So, all those little things that we don't see with Heartland that is commonplace for a fixed road are beginning to happen already. So.
And I think I can share a story. A young man got on one of the first days and was just so excited to have the bus. He said they must be a one-car family. And he said before he was kind of always stuck at home. And he was just really happy to have this, so he could just hop on the bus at any point during the day and go and do his groceries. And actually, I think we took him to a job interview somewhere, if the memory serves me right. But he was just really excited to have that. So it's kind of neat to hear those successes, right out of the gate. I think we kind of all hoped that would happen, but you just never know. So,
Any problems with the bus?
no problems with the bus. So,
200 and going.
200 and going, exactly. Berta, maybe you would like to share some stuff, and then you can hop off. No sense keeping you on for all this mumbo jumbo that we're going to talk about.
All right. Well, it's nice to hear that information about the bus stop usage and which of those areas are more popular than others. Sometimes it takes a while to catch on. And so some of the things that we've worked on, some ads, working on the community guide ad that will be distributed for 2023, partnering with the Martin Luther College, worked on a flyer that they can use there and a slide that they'll, I'm finding out they had requested when those business calls were made, they had wanted information and seemed pretty excited. They'll be, when they update their maps online next, they can add the bus stop to that. So that's a good development. The route brochures finalized. Of course, as you add hours and the bus route expands, we'll update that. And what was the other thing that we have done? Oh, there was a local bar that was interested in having a bar restaurant and having a poster put in their spot, and we're following up to see what their hours are, because I think when I was looking, they weren't open at lunchtime. So and they are open later. So I had suggested to Jill that sometimes what happens is a business like that thinks like, oh, this will be really good for us. And then the hours don't quite correlate to when they're open. So just like to take that tailored approach. So that way you don't have disappointed customers, but have realistic expectations about where it works. And if they're open at lunchtime, then that's a good way to promote to their lunch crowd that they can take the bus if when we have the expanded service hours too.
Yeah, and the other neat thing I think that you did too, Berta, with the MLC College was having the QR code.
Yes.
People of my generation don't really understand that quite as well as what the young kids do, but they'll be able to scan the QR code and it'll show them the route on their phone. So
yeah, and that way, even as the route changes or schedule changes, they'll always have the most current information available to them. QR codes have been around for a while. I know it took a while for them to really take off, but for marketing now, you'll see that everywhere. It's just at Caribou and on their coffee cup thing, there's a QR code, and it has their, you'll see the menus. I think with COVID, a lot of restaurants use that for access to their menus. And yeah, so that'll be really nice to include on materials.
and the college has been very excited. They're excited to have the stop there and stuff. So it's good for that they're on board with it. So
Yeah. And looking at it, I was looking that on their website, and it looks like they require their students to live on campus as much as possible. And that's good for bus ridership a lot of times. Because even if people have a vehicle on campus, it's usually people park further away or it's parked outside. And in the wintertime, you have to shovel the snow off their car to go anywhere where they can just hop on the bus and go grocery shopping. So
Where does it stop?
that'll be really
there?
nice.
Where does it stop at the college?
it's right out the main entrance by Herman Heights, by the park. Yeah. So it's right outside the main entrance, right on.
That's very central.
Very central, yeah.
Close to where dorms would be.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's been I'm not sure where else you could stop there without pulling in, and that's a poorly designed pull-in part even for a car. I've eaten lunch up there before and gotten penned in, so.
The bus sure beats getting the snow and ice off your car in the
Right,
parking lot.
right. So hopefully this winter the kids will use it for that, so. Thank you,
It'd be
Berta.
really neat to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I am I'm waiting to see when you have your additional driver ready with additional hours, and when that construction is done, we can update the map. So that'll be good.
Does anyone else have anything else for Berta or the Jill Brown team? I know that Jill is also working on a radio, some marketing in the radio with the radio folks. And like she said, we're going to put an ad in the visitor's guide. We had one last year for the Heartland, but I felt like, the Herman Express would be a better venue for this deal. So for visitors, so.
Yeah, and for visitors, they usually don't know, you have to call it when you have to call ahead for a ride if they're not familiar with, they might be more familiar with, oh, you just hop on and you go where you need to go instead of having to call to make a reservation.
Yeah, and could that ad have the QR code on it too?
Yes, I think that would be a good addition to a lot of the marketing materials when there's room and appropriate, because then people can always, especially with the longer shelf life,
Right.
always have access to the most recent information. My question for you, since that's going to be a 2023 publication, if you would like me to already put that expanded route map in that guide.
Probably, yeah. I think that would make sense because, yeah, the route we have today, we won't, once the street is completed, then we'll be adding those other stops and it's getting closer,
very
right?
close,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably within another month or so, is that
A bit less than that.
less than that?
It's very,
Okay.
very
Okay, and then
So,
that QR code then can be a good reference for the schedule, so that if the schedule changes, you have to adjust it a minute here or there. It's not published there, but brings them right to the website where they can find out and just mention it's hourly service.
Right. Perfect. Okay.
All
Well, thank you,
right.
Berta.
So we'll be seeing that. All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that was our marketing update for all of us. So she's kind of talked about the hours of operation. I think we will be ready to go with another driver. We have our driver that we hired, and he's going today for his driving test. We got him in a lot quicker than we were planning. And so I think we were hoping to do the expanded hours starting by the first part of December for sure. So I think then we'll have everything put in place. I feel comfortable with that, don't you, Nate?
Yes, and I believe we are interviewing
November
2
1st.
weeks from yesterday, 13 days, for a second road driver to work with Sarah.
Good. And then I think if we could narrow down the hours, if everyone was, if we were okay with the 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., is that kind of starting at 7, ending at 6? Is that kind of okay with the committee to start out with? And again, we can be adjusting these hours, as we see fit. Maybe we want to do the 8 a.m. to 7. I'm not sure, and again, this is going to be a good underlier for us to tell, where and when our hour riders are riding with us. So,
And we're really not very interested in the shifts for the bigger employers because isn't 7 in the morning kind of their big
To get to?
get to work?
yeah, the only big employer that we'd really catch, I think, would be Kraft, because
Yeah.
we're really, well, I guess we are kind of near 3M when we start the new, when the road by Casey Road there is open, we would be going by the main entrance of Kraft. 3M, yeah. So
That would require a 6 o'clock start.
probably at 6 o'clock, and I'm not sure, of course you don't know till you know.
Mr. Chair, I guess I would recommend that we just, if we have the demand, Kraft and 3M can reach out and let us know if there would be that interest, and if then I think we can make that adjustment. But to start at 6 on just a maybe, I think that might be a waste. So I'm comfortable with the 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. to start, and then if we need to adjust it, and if we know we're going to have the ridership earlier, then I think it'd be appropriate to adjust the hours after the fact.
And communicating with them.
Correct.
and
Right.
What they think.
Yeah.
If it's an ask, then we change, but I don't know if they'll want to rely on the city bus route.
Right.
I mean,
To
the
get there.
workers, employees at many of those places, but maybe they are, maybe they
Right.
would, but
They got experience elsewhere in their, both of them. So
Right.
They would know.
Yeah.
I just know people that have cars that work both places, that's the only reason they have that car is to get back and forth to work.
To work, right.
It's usually
Yeah.
older car, whatever, and they just keep it up so they can get to work every day.
Right.
They could spend to do that if that's all you're using it for.
Right.
But it is critical, so.
And what we found is once people use the bus to get to work, once they're there a while, they get enough money and then they buy their own car, you know? So then, you know, we lose the rider, which is a good thing. I mean, you know, we're getting people to off their, you know, to, we found that many times.
I know with employment services through the county, that's been a problem at times. They don't have a car to get to work.
To work,
They
yeah.
want them to work. They can work, but they can't afford a car.
And I was just in a meeting last week with Kathleen and folks that are hoping to start this bus going to Mankato, the Spark bus. And 3M said right now they're quite a few workers short, and last year they spent over $100,000 on advertising trying to get employees. So, so they're kind of hoping for some sort of, you know, something to help with that, with this Spark bus. And the Spark bus folks would talked about bringing people into New Ulm and then just dropping them at a central location. Then Heartland or Herman would take them to locations throughout the city. But
All a future thing.
it's all a future thing, and of course there's dollars involved too. You know, so
You know, things are gonna change when there's 4 lanes all the way to.
right, for sure. And then I don't know if we've really ever nailed down the Saturday hours. I think we had talked like a 9 to 2. It'd be a 5-hour day for the driver, 6 with their pre-trip and post-trip. Does that seem fair to everybody? Start out with those hours, and again, those can be adjusted. Was there any feedback from the city?
I haven't received
Joe?
any. No. That was 9 to 2.
9 to 2, right, yeah. And then we had some operational hours that Heartland has been observing, and so I just wanted to bring that to the committee. Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, and then the Saturday after Thanksgiving are all days that the Herman wouldn't run. Obviously, Christmas Eve day, the Saturday there, and the Christmas Day observed would be that Monday. And then the same with New Year's Eve and New Year's Eve day observed. And then Herman and Heartland operate on other county holidays that other county entities aren't working. Such as Veterans Day, Martin Luther King, President's Day. Juneteenth was just added, as was All-Day Good Friday. So I just wanted the committee to know what, you know, and we will be obviously publishing and letting people know that those days that we are not running. So
Day after Thanksgiving, is that common for transit not to run in other places?
Yeah, it is. When when I first started, we always ran that day, and it was just such a slow day. And you're paying people, you know, a premium to work that day, and even though we would cut routes, we still had people there really wasn't much going on.
Audience we've got now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we, you know, in the future, if we see that the day after Thanksgiving maybe would be a better day to run, maybe we can do that, you know. But I just, you know, wanted to just have that day.
I'm just thinking of the retail community that's
It's usually a big shopping day.
Right.
supposed to be. And
I know when we've ran before, we've had people bring on like a 60-inch TV, and it was really,
I don't
You
think
know.
that's
Have the
gonna
ramp.
happen.
you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. People were doing that,
I know, but
you know.
I wouldn't want to run the service based on
Yeah.
somebody doing that.
Right. And then just other discussion, Sarah, our lead driver, has been gracious enough to type up some things she wanted me to share with you. She said she's been happy to see the number of riders using the bus. We've been averaging about 9 riders a day since starting October 5th. Of those riders, I would say about half are people that want to just ride the loop to see where the route's going for future use. She says they're appreciative of having this mode of transportation. People have asked about different stops. We talked when we first started about obviously trying to get into the senior community center, and we just didn't see how that was going to be possible. You know, at some point when we do the 2 buses, that would be possible. Someone asked about Garden Terrace, and our message to them is if they'd want to walk, because it's quite a walk from the main doors of Garden Terrace down to Garden Street. But if they were standing there, we would stop and pick them up and drop them off.
Because you
So
go by.
we go right by there, right? Then someone was asking about our payments, and we shared that it'd be cash only, no vouchers. They also asked if they would be offering free rides to those who qualify, and it wouldn't be. It'd just be a total dollar cash payment. She asked about payments, attendance riding for free. Our question probably for that is if they provide assistance. You know, if you're able to walk to a bus stop, you know, unless you have some other issues. If you were their actual attendant, you know, like someone from a group home or someone that was caring for someone that could get on the bus but needed someone to assist them, they would ride for free, just like we do with our Heartland. And I think that's transit worldwide. And we also said that a potential card reader will be coming in the future, but it's going to be a little bit of time yet. So people be able to use a tap card, something that they also asked her about service pets allowed on the bus. And all pets caged or handled by the owner or in the possession of the owner at all times can ride the bus. Someone else asked about a bike rack. Bike racks are not anything MnDOT. They pushed it for a while, but they found out what happens is there's so much room in the front of the bus with that bike rack. Bikes were getting ruined. People were, you know, not securing the bike because it was their responsibility. Then the bike would fall off, and so MnDOT has really asked us to kind of hold back on that. It's kind of something for more of a big city thing. And then they also asked about the size of brochures. What we found that some of the brochure holders aren't large enough to hold the brochures we have, so they'd kind of like the brochures to be bigger, but that would be kind of difficult. But maybe if we did this QR code on the brochures, we can maybe look into that. And then she would like to go and visit at some of our locations that we stop at, some of the Broadway houses, and maybe set up with a meeting with some of the residents just to kind of explain the route. So that's something we're going to be looking at.
We've had a lot of facilities think with this new service that the Heartland buses are done. So Sarah kind of wants to go out and preach to them that Heartland routes are still there. We still operate the way we always have. This is a new service. Give it a try if it's for you or not. So just to kind of dispel those rumors.
Yeah, and I really want people to know that Heartland isn't going anywhere. I've gotten a lot of comments about that. I'm not sure if any of you have. But people feel like that this is going to replace that, and we have no plans for that to ever happen. So, because there's still a need for people to be picked up at their door. And there always will be that need. Mm-hmm. This is just a complement to that, right? And that is not changing. So, if everybody on the committee could help me with that, I'd really appreciate it. This is more of a question for the city. What happens when we get snow and ice? Because Jeff from the street department was visited with, and he's already let us know that the route is basically not on a lot of, or there's some of the streets that aren't a priority for plowing. I'm not sure, has there been any discussion about changing some of that, or?
I don't think the priority routes are going to be changed.
Okay.
But I guess we're going to have to experience it and see how it goes, I guess. So.
Yeah. And as we get to a point where we're going to have stops with the concrete, at some point, we're going to have to visit with how we're going to clear those stops.
Right. Yeah, and that's internal discussion we have yet to have between us, Park and Rec, and street department staff.
Yep. Those are just things that were brought up to me, and I wanted to share them with the committee. So is there any other discussion that?
Can I get a copy of this schedule, or the what we've had for writers?
Yep, we can get that out to you. Sure, that's not a problem. I was actually going to make copies for everybody, and I didn't get around to it. So, and we'll have this at every meeting, and we'll be sharing with the commissioners too. So, Yeah.
Will we be making a survey available to riders in November, December to find out, like, is our hours helpful to them? Do they have other ideas? Just so we're not sitting here making decisions,
Right.
but we are using what they give
What they
us.
would like. That's a good point. I probably can have the marketing folks work on that. Maybe have a Survey Monkey put on like the website, and maybe we could even distribute something in the bus or have something in the bus where people could go to a site and share that. It's a good idea.
I don't know what the ridership is, but if we've got a higher senior percentage, I think something in paper in the bus would be good that they could turn in, that they could fill out and turn in. A lot of people just don't use the internet or know how to use it, or
Right.
don't have a computer.
Don't have a
So,
computer.
What are you finding with age of the group that's so far researched? What age groups are predominating?
I think we're seeing a pretty fair amount, across the board. I look at the numbers out of certain facilities or apartment buildings and stuff, and I don't think really one age group is,
Standing out?
I'm impressed with some of the places. I didn't think we'd get anybody from them in the first week. Highland Regency, eight passengers, but that was where some people walked over too. But no, I think it's going good. I think it's a pretty level playing field with the age.
All ages. What's the rule about children? They have to be a certain age.
I guess we've never really discussed it. We've always asked when they ride the Heartland that they have to be able to get themselves on the bus and buckle themselves in. I mean, obviously we wouldn't, if someone is standing at a corner and they're awful tiny, I think we'd probably alert the authorities, But, now with school being out with MEA, maybe we'll catch some of those kids that want to see what the bus route is about, But yeah, as long as you were able to, with Heartland, I think Herman will be the same thing. If you're able to get on the bus and buckle yourself in, I mean, we might have a worried mother out there wondering where her kid is, but because he just decided to hop on the bus because it doesn't cost anything, I don't know. Could
But
be
if a
interesting.
mother brought like a 5-year-old, is there an age limit or is it $2?
It'd be $2,
Okay,
yeah.
just curious.
Now, if they were younger and she had to be their attendant, that'd be an
Like an infant,
attendant
yeah.
issue. So if they were in a car seat, obviously, the mother would ride, as their attendant, so.
They just want to, get that younger generation thinking bus.
Mm-hmm.
What I hear is, people move to bigger cities and they don't want to have cars.
Right, they don't have cars.
Or they can't park cars.
Right,
And so the sooner we get them used to mass transit, better off their lives are going to be later.
for sure. Okay. Any other discussion? I propose we call the meeting adjourned.
Mr. Chair, did you want to set a next meeting date or just at
Yeah,
the call when you feel necessary?
I think if we go out another month, is that good? That's a Wednesday. We would be
Like the
looking
16th?
at the 16th. If that works for everybody.
Works for me.
Again, from 10 to 11.
Works for me.
Wednesday, November 16th, 10 to 11, here at the chamber office, or chamber room again.
Looks good.
Sounds good.
And the first or second for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.